Hey, I met Alena. It's been several months ago now. She and her family. She has a husband and I think the little boy, somewhere around 10 to 12 years old. Maybe it's a little bit older than that. They were in the came through the Armsy Museum on a Saturday, which I happened to be working, which was really cool because I really thoroughly enjoyed yakking with her. And I think we probably talked for an hour there. So it was very, very cool. And as I say, I'm always interested in always learning something from paleontologists. So Alena is from, as far as I know now, I mean, she may have moved in 2 months, but she was at the, she lives in the Moab area. And you can shake your head if that's true, Alena. Hi, it's the Moab.
Actually, I live in Bellevue, Washington, but I work a lot in Moab.
Oh, okay, so you're in Bellevue.
I'm very close to you, yeah.
Oh, how cool. That's really cooler. So, well, it's nicer. I don't know how cool it is. It's a whole lot cooler up in Seattle. So anyway, so Alena is in Bellevue, Washington. So she's available to work with museums across the country in regard to her specialty in photogrammetry, which she will be talking with us about this evening. And of course, that means the documentation of trackways, and those trackways may be large trackways, and I presume they're probably small trackways as well. The trackways are trackways, and it's something I have a tremendous interest in. And so listening to her today and learning from her today thank you very much for being here and for taking the time to present to us.
Thank you.
With nothing else, Alena, this is your show, and remember, she is a paleontologist. She is in our business for herself now, and this is what she does: photogrammetry. So, welcome, Alena.
Thank you. Okay, I will share my screen.
Aha.
Yeah, so I will start with the presentation. If anybody would have any questions during the presentations, just please let me know, and I would be happy to answer any. There is a lot of information, and probably you don't need to wait till the very end. You can just tell me if you have any questions. So what I do is I'm focusing on doing the photogrammetry and the 3D models, and especially for the tracks that are outside and exposed to elements and nature. What you see on the picture is a little baby stegosaurus. It's very unique and very rare in the world. On this planet, we have just 2 sites. One is in Colorado that I documented for the little baby stegosaurus, and another one in China.
Wow.
Basically, the photogrammetry is not something new that was introduced to paleontology. It's been for about 65 years already. But currently, we, like all the institutions and museums, started doing this pretty much for all the fossils and the collections. So we started digitalizing it. What is very important is to document and protect the track fossils that are exposed to the elements. Many fossils been for millions of years, but they were covered in sediments, and thus they were preserved and saved. A couple years ago, I was working at the very important quarry, and I will show it in my presentation a little bit later, which were documented just 10 years ago. Last year, we compared the results, and as you will see very soon, the erosion pretty much destroyed the sites. That's why we started this huge project to document as many sites around the United States as possible. So here in the little video, that's a pretty cool, very interesting site in Arizona near Tucson area. It's a little horse that was living the tracks, and the site is very remote. To get to there, you have to get a permit and hike up and down mountains for about 4 hours. So what is great with the photogrammetry is you can easily share it with the researchers around the globe. And it's very easy to 3D print the results and then present it as a displays or make the exhibits. I very much like this example. Here at the very bottom, you see me and Dr. Martin Lockley exploring the Jurassic, it's a Morrison Formation, Neomo area. What he found here on the right, so he highlighted the track. We were actually not convinced that it was a track, just a few centimeters length. We assumed that probably it's a little baby or hatchling theropod. But with your eyes, you can barely see anything. What we did is on the left is the depth map. So the blue shows the deep and the yellow shows the upper layers. Do you see my mouse on the display?
Do not see your mouse.
Oh, okay. So on the left, you see the 3 claws, and you see the digits, and you see the imprints of the soft tissues, and you can clearly see at least 2 claws on the left and on the middle digits.
Right, that's in the deep blue.
Yes, it's in deep blue. So you see the soft tissues and you see the little claws above.
Right.
But actually, we couldn't figure out if it was a track, but with the photogrammetry, we can even see the preservation of the soft tissues and the claws, which is remarkable. There are different methods, and from old school, from making a casts to very modern, like a LiDAR. Doing the track preservations, we are comparing like which technology we can use. And for me, I think it's very interesting to compare the results. And we have one of the papers with my photogrammetry teacher. So we are trying to analyze which lithology is eroding fast, and this way we can figure out which sites should be preserved and which technology we can use depending on the accuracy and the cost and so on. So the photogrammetry, what I'm basically doing most of the time, I'm doing it with the drones, or I'm doing it with my Canon 5D Mark IV camera. The accuracy for the tracks is something is very important. With the camera or the drones, you can achieve 0.001, which is absolutely wonderful. Same you can do with the casts, like an old school. With a LiDAR, it depends very much on what equipment you're using. If it's the phone or iPad or something that is not industrial, and I would say costs less than $30,000, the accuracy will be very low. Speaking of how can you do the track, or how can you document and preserve, it's very easy with a LiDAR scanner, because basically you're just moving through the site and it makes the 3D model just in front of your eyes. Same with the cast. Doing the photogrammetry is a very complex process because it's a lot of steps, and you have to do it through the special software. I will show it a little bit later. To replicate the results, it's very easy with the LiDAR and the photogrammetry, because it's just a file that can be shared, and it's pretty hard with a cast. And I just talked about the shareable. Also, the casts, especially in the collections, they can be easily damaged or damaged during the transportation, which is pretty cool with the photogrammetry and the LiDAR as well, because it's just a file that you can send through email or just share on the Google Space. It does not require also the physical storage. And the photogrammetry is a relatively inexpensive technology. When it comes to the LiDAR, if you want to do this with high accuracy, you have to have very expensive industrial scanner, which is very hard to transport, and it requires a lot of funds. That's one of the example of the Stegosaurus footprints. Stegosaurus is the state fossil of Colorado, and just the last week, it was a huge event in Colorado. I was one of the presenter. So this is the photogrammetry I did of the fully grown Stegosaurus. It's very rare. So basically, Stegosaurus body fossils are rare, and we have no eggs of the Stegosaurus, and tracks are extremely rare as well. So here on the left, you can see this is the photo of the 3D model, and I will show it later. Just I will rotate, how you will see how it looks. On the right side, you have the depth maps in different spectrums. So here on the bottom, you see from blue to red, and above is from white to black. It's just the preferences, and some researchers, they prefer to look at the colored, some researchers prefer to look at the black and white versions of that. But the depth map gives some really nice idea of the contours and how the tracks can be seen from above. Here on this video, it's a beautiful site. It's one of the best preserved crocodilian early Cretaceous site in the North America. Dr. Martin Lockley published it in 2010. This is my photogrammetry that we did last year. So as you can see, photogrammetry is very detailed and highly defined. You can see all the features, and you can rotate the model. You can 3D print it. So what was very interesting for us is to compare the results of the paper that Martin Lockley published 10 years ago with the photogrammetry that I did last year. And here you have two photos of the same cliff, which is on the left, photos from Martin Lockley's paper, and on the right is the photo of my 3D photogrammetry. Unfortunately, I can't show my mouse, but if you look at the middle sections a little bit to the left, you see a very defined track in Martin Lockley's paper. If you compare it with the same track at the photogrammetry, you see that it's a huge erosion results. In Martin Lockley's paper, the depth was about 12 millimeters. And in my photogrammetry, it was already 3 to 4. So what we noticed is just within 10 years, one of the best preserved crocodilian tracks, and it's pretty important site, it was probably like pretty much completely destroyed by nature. So right now we work with the state and the Dinosaur Reach to get the funds to preserve this site, and as well the Dinosaur Reach. If you've been to the Dinosaur Reach Museum, it's an open space with a lot of tracks of different species. It's at least 10 different species and at least 200 tracks. They all allocated within a very closed area. The site is not protected, it's outside, and it's very achievable to the public. Some sites, some tracks are preserved with the railings, but there is no roofs, there is no museums built around it.
Alena, that if I remember, you told me about that. I saw some of that when I met you, and I was looking at your phone pictures. That's a vertical. When you said cliffside, I don't know that people understood that. I believe that is a vertical display there. I mean, it's not a horizontal. It's not flat tracks that you're flat and you can walk around. You've got to drop down off the top of the cliffside to get down to it, or either that or have your drone. Am I correct there?
Yes, yeah, you're absolutely correct. So to get to the top of the cliff, you have to use some equipment or just something. So I was basically climbing the ladder.
Wow.
Is when you take the road to the top and you walk across the top of the beach.
Can you, I didn't hear the other question.
Was that a question from the group, Aaron? Somebody couldn't hear.
No, that wasn't from our group. We're muted here, so whatever noises we make, you guys don't hear. So that was somebody in the background as someone who's online.
Okay, that's covered.
Okay, okay.
Continue, Elena. You're doing great. We can all hear you.
Okay, that's okay. Thanks. If you have questions, just let me know. I will stop and I will answer for the particular side. Here is the crocodilian track from the video from the previous slide, and what photogrammetry can also do, which is pretty much cool. So what you see is it's called the measure shape. You can measure the side in 3D. So what you see is the measurement of the lengths. You can see the width, but you also can see how shape is changing, which is basically very hard to achieve with any papers or the measurements when you do it without the photogrammetry. We created so after we documented the site and we realized how severe was the erosion of one of the most important sites in the North America, we decided to create this project to document as many track sites that are exposed to elements as possible. And just last week I was at the Dinosaur Reach, and right now we are working on finding the evidence and the data points to prove that the site at the Dinosaur Reach should be protected as well. We did a couple photogrammetry. One is behind the railing that is protected and public can't touch it. Also at the area that is most touchable by the general public, and I saw a lot of kids were just approaching and sitting down on the tracks. They were taking pictures, and we also did the photogrammetry of the holotype. So we will, which was taken, by the way, so it was just a cast, old school cast that was done 15 years ago. So we will compare the results with 15 years ago holotype, the part of the track site that is very achievable by the general public, and the one that is a little bit protected, so just the basic railings and people can't get and touch it. Do you have the questions, Aaron?
Yeah, are you still talking about that last set of trackways? Or are you talking about another set of trackways?
Yeah,
I'm trying to follow them. They have you switched so that I'm, like I say, I'm trying to follow the tracks as such, but go ahead.
So I'm in parallel, I'm working with a lot of institutions and the museums. So it's also in Colorado at the Dinosaur Reach. It's near Denver. It's in Morrison.
Oh, in Morrison. Yeah, out in Morrison where Bob Backer used to be, Bacher.
Yes, yeah, I am actually the research associate of his museum. Yep.
That's covered.
Yes.
I'm familiar with that.
Oh, okay. So also photogrammetry can be used to 3D print and present at the displays. If you heard last month, Neoma app, one of the sites was accidentally destroyed by the tractors. So they ran through the maintenance, they were removing the sidewalks, and they destroyed part of the track site. Not severe, but still. A couple months before that, I did the photogrammetry of the area that was destroyed. So I sent this to BLM, and they can just use my results to 3D print and put the sites as a display.
That is a wow.
Yes, yeah. So the site on the video, it's quite tall. It's a vertical cliff, so it's located in Golden, Colorado as well, and it's early Cretaceous. It has beautiful ripple marks and some beautiful tracks. So we are working with the state to get some funds to preserve and just probably at least build the roof above the site. because we have the data points that showing that the site is destroyed by nature. And this is a little video of just how photogrammetry is basically done. So I'm working on this site and I'm doing the photos in 3 different positions, like a horizontal and the verticals. And then, so all the photos should be at least overlap at 60%. It's basically for the site you just saw, it was about 800 photos, just to give you an idea how much photos are usually taken. For a small object, like for example, just a little baby theropod track that I showed before, it was about 60 photos. So for this site, it was a lot. And this is the result. Also, I'm doing the virtual museums, which is part of the photogrammetry as well. So we can document the track sites, and we also can document the whole museum. Just a little example. So we documented it as a 3D model, and you can walk through that and you can explore the collections and the displays like you are inside the museums. Just one of the applications. And I also want to show you the Stegosaurus tracks. So this is a little baby Stegosaurus.
Are these the ones in the Morrison Museum?
Yes. I documented a couple of slabs inside the Morrison. Do you see my mouse?
See it? Yep.
Okay, so yes, I'm just highlighting. So this is a little baby Stegosaurus. Just to give you an idea of how small this animal was, probably it was about 6 pounds, just the size of a cat.
Small cat.
Yes, and we have just a couple of tracks.
So Alena, how do you know it's a Stegosaurus track?
That's a very good question. So basically, we are comparing the shape of the Stegosaurus, like baby, with all the animals that live in the area at this particular time. Comparing this to the shape of the fully grown Stegosaurus, this is the only animal that had the same shape.
And so this is the Morrison Formation, somewhere around 150.
Yes.
50
150,
billion.
yes, yeah, and basically it came from Quarry 5, and we have a lot of Stegosaurus body fossils, and we have also fully grown ups. I will show you the fully grown up.
So you said Quarry 5, is that from at Como Bluff? Or Quarry 5 in Morrison?
Quarry 5 and
Quarry
Morrison.
5 on Dinosaur Ridge. It's on the back side of Dinosaur Ridge.
Okay,
And
gotcha, Joe.
it was the Arthur Lakes quarries.
Gotcha covered.
Yes, yep.
Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
Thank you. And this is a fully grown Stegosaurus. So as you can see, it has very distinguished features. So we have 3 digits over here, and they have this squarish shapes.
So Alena, when I'm looking at that, you were showing those toes as such, and I presume that that's I don't know whether that's a front, whether that's a ped or manus, but
this is
when you're looking at that back foot and it looks like a pad area that might be deeper to the left and down.
So this very track, the animal was working on a very muddy surface, and it's probably slip. Yeah, so what you see, it's a slipping track.
Gotcha.
This is another slab, also from the Quarry 5 Morrison Formation as well. And there are a couple of baby and hatchling tracks, which is pretty interesting. So what you can see here, this is a very little, couple days old baby Stegosaurus.
Jeez, pardon me, shut myself up.
And here are the oversteps of the juveniles. So this is 1, 2, 3 digits. So here's the track of the juvenile. And here is another overstep. It's 1, 2, and 3 of another juvenile. We don't know exactly the age, and we can't estimate because we have just very few tracks, and especially baby and juveniles. Also, photogrammetry can be used to document this tract section. This is one of the examples. So instead of doing this with a paper and pencil, you can do the photogrammetry and it will be much easier. And the project I'm working, so I mentioned the dinosaur ridge. Here it is. We did just a small portion and we focused on just three tracks. It's 1, 2, and 3. So there was a pass and menace of herbivores. And we have a little theropods over here. So we would like to compare this section with the holotype to see how much tracks were destroyed and eroded within this 15 years. And then it will give us more funds to do the complete sites and probably protect it in the future. And this is all from my presentation, so please let me know if you have any questions. I think you are.
This is the last of the slides.
Okay.
Yes, yep.
Okay. Yeah, what I'm looking at there, and I pick out of course, I've got my own cursor and I'm going all over the place and I can see the trackways of the little theropod. So, and I see smaller tracks, the 1, 2, 3, and these are your photogrammetry.
Mm-hmm.
And what have you found from a standpoint of what has been discovered from the comparison to see in 15 years as far as the deterioration? Now, is this vertical or is this a horizontal slab?
So it's angled on the dinosaur.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So it's almost vertical, yes.
Wow.
This side is outside, it is not protected, and at least we would like to build a roof above the dinosaur ridge.
Alena, you had mentioned too, and this is veering away from your slides, but it's all part of it. And looking at, I know in Moab you were there for a while, if I remember correctly, because I didn't remember that you were in Bellevue. So forgive me if my memory. But I know we talked about some of the trackways outside of Moab. Now, Moab, I believe those tracks were still Jurassic.
Yes, Morrison.
So Jurassic would be from the north, would be northeast of the whatever that road is going from Moab up to Price or Green River, but there was a very long trackway, and those tracks, I can't imagine what it's like because it's been 15 years since I've seen them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can imagine that, the extent of documentation that is necessary to show these things are going away if they're exposed.
Mm-hmm.
And can you tell me, are there other museums, for instance, and the Tate Museum, and that's a small museum up there in Casper, you probably know JP. And there's an area at Como Bluff, Greg is aware of it, and some other folks are there, Greg Carr, if you're there, Greg. The trackways there, it's been a number of years, probably 6 years since I've been there, but there's some marvelous tracks. And they are being undercut now by natural erosion of bad winters. And so as they're being undercut, they're just breaking off and falling down or slipping down a 45-degree to 55-degree slope. And so the loss is atrocious, actually. I don't know how what to do, but I can imagine how this is one of the most important things that you can see from a fossil is the behavior, and this is like amazing. So anyway, I'm gonna stop talking now. But and Morrison, what have you in the Como Bluff area? Have you done any work up there?
I haven't worked in the Coral Bluff area. I heard a lot about those studies and the papers. It's actually, I believe, will be maybe 10 more years just to explore the Coral Bluffs. And yeah.
Well, yeah, I agree with you, Alena, because one of the people at the Tate that did, and I observed some of the early work that was done in photogrammetry, and certainly it was like they didn't have the probably the necessary equipment or the best equipment to do the work with. And I know that Melissa there had done some work, but I was waiting to see a copy of the paper, never got it. But I think it's essential to document it, to get people involved, because this stuff is going away. It does. Your erosion patterns are like unbelievable. I'm taking up time, but to me, it's very important.
I totally agree, especially as a sandstone. It's very coarse, and yeah, tracks are destroying very fast.
Yeah. Different levels of the sandstone, siltstone, mudstone.
Yeah, we're actually working on comparing different lithologies and how fast tracks are dissolving with the different lithologies, so we can focus on but basically this is the sandstone. Yes. Right.
The heavier particles going faster.
Question. Okay, Dick, go ahead. Do you want to? There is a question here for you from Greg. Do you want to ask? Oh, okay. I don't know if you want to take this or ask.
It's Greg Carr.
Hey, hang on a second.
Just a couple of technical questions. What kind of camera do you use, and generally, how many pictures do you take of each site?
So I'm using the lens is 24 millimeters, and it's fixed is the best. So all the photos should be taken with 24 millimeters. So this is optimal. And I'm using Canon 5D Mark IV. And the professional lens. Yes, Mark IV. And the professional lens is L series.
Right. Will.
Here's another question, not related to that part. Thank you for that. I was recently looking at the Smithsonian tour, and I believe that was photogrammetry. Did you have anything to do with the Smithsonian site?
No, I did not. I saw, you meant the virtual tour.
The virtual tour, yes.
Yes, so I saw the tour and Kirk Johnson's little interviews that were incorporated, pretty cool. So what I'm doing, first of all, I'm trying to have as many standpoints during the museum as possible. What I see at the Smithsonian and a couple more, so it's like flying through the museums, and you can't get really to the angle that I would like to explore, is that the exhibit or read the sign. So what I'm trying to achieve is putting the cameras like I'm walking with my normal like footsteps. And the person who is doing the virtual tour, it can go around the exhibit and look from different perspective and different angles. So you can read all the signs, you can look from different angles, and there is no distortion as well.
And are you going to have a website with links to those museums that you've captured photogrammetrically?
Yes, it's hopefully it will be last year. So right now we are building actually the platform to upload all the museums on one platform. We are not charging the museums, so we are doing all the work for them for free. And we actually, so I started this business a couple months ago with Coyote Peterson. If you know, he is a Brave Wilderness host and the Animal Planet host. We are doing this virtual museums on one platform, and then potentially it will be hopefully next year. And we have the revenue share as well for the museums.
So can you tell us how to follow you as you produce these amazing features? Are you?
Yeah, so the name of the website and the company that we launch is the Museum Traveler. And I can send all the information. So basically I should have included this in the presentation. So this is the website, the museumtraveler.com. And you can always reach out to me through Instagram or through my email. I will just write it down. This is my personal Instagram, and I would be happy to answer all the questions if anybody has, or email.
And I noticed at the bottom left, Paleontology Rocks, which is a great slogan. Is that you? Is that a site to follow you on, or is that?
So the Paleontology Rocks, I'm just uploading all the information for the amateurs to get more excitement and get more familiar with what is paleontology and how to identify fossils, what can be done and what cannot be done. Unfortunately, I saw a couple of sites that have been destroyed, so I'm trying to do a little bit of education.
So where is that, a website or Twitter or something? What is Paleontology Rocks?
It's just my personal website with some information about the clubs and how to document the sites and all of that.
How do we get there?
Oh, it's the website, www.paleontology.rocks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question.
Are there any other questions out there in the live audience?
Yeah,
Everybody
David
online's
here.
live too. I know that.
Aaron, David here. I have a question for Alena. Alena, when you land on a site you think is a trackway, how much work needs to be done before you actually take out your camera? In other words, how much site preparation, looking for the extent of the trackway, etc., must be done, or do you do all that yourself?
It's a very good question. So one of the sites I was trying to document as is. So we were looking at the levels of erosion, and we did not clean the site. It basically took me 5 days to compile this in the software because I had to remove all the reflections from the sun from the sediments. So it was a huge mistake, I would say. And so from now on, yes, I have to basically clean the site from all the dirt and dust and set as much as possible. If I have the help from the museum staff and volunteers, which I usually have, yes, it's couple people work.
And after you're done photographing, what work is done to preserve the site later? Do you cover it over, or what goes on next?
So unfortunately, even covering the site that is already exposed is not the best solution. So there are different options how to preserve it. at least we can have the 3D models if the site of the tracks can be collected and put in the museums or just stored in the collection. Sometimes it's a huge couple miles away. So sometimes you have nothing to do if it's a trackway, migration trackway for many, many miles, like 20 miles. Sometimes you can collect it and bring it to the museums. So with the dinosaur ridge, the site was many years, and it's one of the beautiful, best preserved, one of the best preserved track site in Colorado. There is no protection, and right now we are working to have the data points and the evidences that site is slowly degrading and it needs to be protected. How, we don't know. It depends on how much funds the dinosaur ridge can get. At least the roof can be constructed above the site, and it will be very helpful just to protect from water, rains, and snow.
And one last question. When you go to 3D print, you print the trackway. Do you ever try to reproduce the actual foot? The 3D?
Yeah, so when you 3D print, you can print the site that is documented with the photographs that were taken.
Yes.
So in different software, you can use the tracks to build the idea of the soft tissues that were around this track.
Whoa. That's cool.
I've got a question on the crocodilian site, on Dinosaur Ridge. Is that the one in Golden that's actually not in the main part of the ridge, but on the other side of I-70?
Yes, so this is the clay mine. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
And the other thing I wanted to ask you is, have you ever been down to the Purgatory River site in Colorado, in the Comanche National Grassland? It's a huge
I
soil
heard
box
so
site.
much about this site, and unfortunately, yes, I have not been there.
It's incredible, and it's huge.
Yes, I heard it's a couple hours to get to the site, or if you have the permission to bring the vehicle or just go with the staff. Yes, yeah, I heard about it. Thank you for mentioning. Yeah, it's definitely on my list.
Yeah, I know. If you got to basically get permission, and because you got to cross Fort Carson land to get to the BLM land. I'm sorry, the Comanche National Grassland land, and it's quite a ride down there. Time to go is in October though, because that's when the tarantulas are on the march, so it makes it more interesting.
Thank you. It's definitely on my list.
Any other questions from the gallery? Oh, the gallery. Okay, we don't have any more questions here. Anybody else online wanted to ask a question? Okay, Alena, thank you so much for spending time with us and sharing what you know
pleasure.
about this. This is amazing stuff. You had our attention. It's fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alena. It was very, very kind of you.
Did you hear the applause? Did you hear that?
Yep.
Okay.